if you know your stuff, you can stand on it, right?
Yep.
You know, that's not being a jerk. If you're just standing up for yourself and saying like, hey, no, I know,
right,
like I have a opinion on this technical process or project or whatever, and it's backed by evidence and it's backed by like skills and stuff like that. That's not being a jerk. That's just saying like, hey, no,
I can literally show you.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, you know, I have actual knowledge and experience and stuff like that around this. So yeah, I think that's like the line to try to walk.
Hey, what's up, fam? This is Sarla, host Office in Tech. We're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. On our podcast today, we got William Hill. What up, bro?
What up, man? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Man, glad to be here, man. It took a little bit of time to make it happen, but I'm excited to be here.
Nice, man. I think I found your page through I think Lily, our close friend. And shout out to Lily. She's actually hooked me up with a few guests. But I saw what you're doing, and you've been in the space for a long time. And honestly, you're one of those voices that's like really prominent in the field, but like in terms of folks that know about you, I feel like more people should know about what you're doing, bro. Like you do some amazing stuff out there, man. So
I appreciate it, man. I've been around for a little minute, man. It's just something I've always been passionate about. I've always been passionate about tech since I was a kid. So I feel very, very blessed to be able to be in the space and then try to share the things that I've been able to learn and through my experience and give back and such, because it was one of those things. I grew up in a very small place and didn't really have a lot of resources to learn things like this for myself. So, you know, just continue to try to, you know, build a ladder as I'm climbing myself.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So in tune with that, man, tell the people a bit about yourself. Not technical, just about who you are.
About who I am, man. So yeah, as you mentioned, William Hill, although many people close to me know me as Emjay, that comes from my middle name. So shout out to my dad, William Sr., but he only goes by our middle name, Morris. So then Morris Jr. Therefore it became MJ for me. So, but so I'm known as William, MJ, Will, whatever. Yeah, man, like I've been in, like I said, went the traditional route, undergrad and master's at Mississippi State. So I was born and raised in Mississippi in a very small town. And yeah, went the more traditional route, like kind of got interested in tech from a young age, like playing video games. So going all the way back to like the NES.
Yep.
So that's kind of been a constant part of my life since I was a kid, from NES to Genesis to PlayStation and so on and so forth. So just getting interested in like the technical aspects there, like wondering how those things were created. And you know, hearing it was made with something called code. And I was like, I don't know what that means. But I was interested and I was curious about it. So I got gifted a computer for my 14th birthday, and it just kind of took off from there.
Nice.
Just tinkering, learning different things. Remember, like in school, they just had some computers laying around, so just started deconstructing, taking a hard drive out of one, taking some RAM out of the other one, and playing around with it and stuff. So that kind of just led me, you know, put me on the path that I am now. So it's one of those things where people say like, oh, if you could somehow do it again, would you do the same thing? Like since I was 14, I never thought about doing anything different than being in tech.
That's dope, bro. What do your parents do?
So my dad is retired. He was a county supervisor for like 24 years. So like a local elected official. So he was always big in the community, always out, you know, doing things. You know, so, you know, the kind of day to day was like helping maintain like county operations. So like road work, any type of like emergency stuff like that. So he was, you know, over a district within the small county I was from. And then my mom was an educator. So she was a teacher's aide for like 15 plus years or something like that. So she worked in the school system while I was there. So it's one of those things where I always had to be on my P's and Q's because your mom's in the school system. If you do something in school, the news will beat you home. So that helped me always stay very much on the straight and narrow while I was in school. So so education was always like a big thing in my home because my mom was an educator.
That's awesome, man. And you got siblings?
Yeah. So I got older sisters. They're was it 12, 10, and 6 years older than me, I think. So like 3 older sisters. So yeah, I was the youngest, only boy. So they kept me straight. They kept me they kept me together. So yeah, shout out to my sisters. They're still a big factor in my life. They still, you know, play a pivotal role in my upbringing and in my life.
That's awesome, man. And then tech wise, are you the only one in the family that's in tech? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm the only one in tech. So which means I'm also the de facto technical support for the entire family. So anytime, like I said, my family, again, they know me as MJ, but my close family, they just call me M.
Yeah.
So it's like something goes wrong, like M, can you fix my printer? I'm like, not really.
That's not what I do.
Yeah, not what I do, but I guess I'll figure it out, you know. So that's been a running thing ever since I was a kid.
Yeah. No, I've mentioned this several times about myself too. I went the non-traditional route to get into tech. I was healthcare, but then I used to help fix like websites and like little basic stuff. So I became, like de facto tech support.
Yeah, man.
Like simple stuff. Like I don't do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yo, I could tell them like all day, and that's why it's been kind of interesting to another kind of like added bonus of like doing talks, or even like now, like I said, being gracious enough for you to have me on your platform, is my folks. They, like I said, yeah, they knew I was in tech, but they know exactly what it is that I do.
Yeah.
So being able to like give these talks, like do presentations, do demos, and say like, hey, here's some of the things that I do that you can, even now go to YouTube and see it. Like it just gives them more visibility into what I do, because I can sit there and try to explain it all day.
Yeah.
But them being able to go and watch it and see it and stuff like that, it just kind of gives a new dimension. It's kind of dope where I've even had talks where, like a live stream or something, and my folks have been on there, and I was like, dope. Oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, to have them, kind of get to see what I do on a day-to-day basis.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, that's fantastic to have like sort of that image of like who you are kind of built out. Yeah. So that's dope, man. So you say you grew up in a small town?
Yeah, man. Okay. Roughly 500 people. Ooh, State Line, Mississippi.
Yeah, that's small.
Yeah, man. It's and then a good chunk of that is my family, man. So my extended family. My mom is the second youngest. Oh, forgive me, Mom, if I get this wrong. I think it was 7 of them. I think she had 6 siblings.
Gotcha.
And then my dad, youngest of 13.
Okay.
So lots of aunts and uncles, lots of cousins.
Yeah.
So just a big kind of, like I said, extended family, where, like I said, growing up in a small place, we didn't even have school. Like in school, yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's kind of whatever you see certain. It's always kind of like a shock for me, like seeing certain neighborhoods and stuff. Even though I've grown up, got to go see the world and stuff. Yeah, where like the concept of like walking to school as a kid is so foreign to me. Yeah, because my hometown, the school shut down in 1987, the same year that I was born, due to asbestos. Wow. So it hasn't had school in almost 40 years. Wow. And so we had to commute 20 something miles south every day.
That's crazy,
to
bro.
go to school. So yeah, it was just like a different thing, and like there's not a single traffic light in the entire county.
Yeah. Wow.
There's like no Walmart.
Yeah.
No, I think like the only fast food places. I think there's like a Jack's Burger place now, which is even like a small region, like a ward, like small region. So there's like no McDonald's in the entire county. Yeah. Nothing like that. So it's just a very rural area where opportunities are few and far between. Yeah. So I get to go home, just still see my parents and stuff like that, and it's very, I think, humbling. Yeah. To go home. Like my dad always told me and always drilled into me, it's not where you start, it's where you finish and where you're going. So like it was very humble upbringing, but I think my parents did like a tremendous job in being able to just put me in positions to continue to grow and progress and go experience new things. Yeah.
No, bro, that's an amazing. I mean, it's unfortunate in terms of like the lack of resources that you've had to kind of work around, but it's a testament to like grit and kind of where you're at now, bro. So kudos to you and the fam.
I appreciate that. Shout out to moms and dads.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then now, is it still the same?
Like absolutely. Like I got to go home a few weeks ago for my niece's homecoming. She was a cheerleader at the middle school, same middle school I went to. It's pretty much the same. Where it's I definitely want more for that area. And it's something that I hope as I continue to grow in my career that I can try to give back to the area where like where maybe tech can kind of be like an equalizer or like a help progress or something like that. Because it's Yeah, it's still pretty much the same since I grew up, and hasn't been a whole lot of economic development or anything like that. So I would love to see it progress. And like I said, again, incredibly proud of what my dad did during his time in office there, because he was able to help a lot of people and help push like different initiatives forward and stuff like that. So he has a legacy there of things that he's left with trying to, you know, push like I said, it's particularly one of the biggest events that always happens there is the Black History Parade. Yeah. And he was always adamant about kind of making sure that me being like prideful about who I am, where I come from, knowing history around, you know, kind of like, you know, kind of like just like in the South, the civil rights movement, and even further beyond that. So typically every year we would have that parade. He would drive his truck in it. I used to be on the back throwing candy and stuff. And then when I got a little bit older, got my driver's license, I would drive his truck in the parade. Yeah. And it was one of those things where, again, a town of 500 people, there would be 4,000 people at that parade. Wow. And so it was one of those things that, you know, he had a hand in like helping continue to grow and progress stuff like that. So so there are some things that could be better, but I wish, I definitely hope for more from my area. Because again, I'm happy and proud of where I'm from.
No, that's awesome, bro. Yeah, I'm definitely wishing you the best throughout, you know, that journey as you know, figure out what is, you know, exactly going to be doing back home. Sure. If any way we can support too, you know, definitely let us know, man.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Cool. So you grew up in a small town and then you went to like one of the largest schools in terms of like sports and all that. Yeah. How did that come about, man?
Oh man. Very what's the word? I guess fortuitous is maybe the word for it. So I was at the top of my class whenever I graduated, and it was one of those things where I knew very little, and not necessarily throw anybody on the bus, but it's not like I had the best guidance counselors in the world. So me being very naive, I'm thinking like, oh, when in sports, because like one of my best friend growing up, he was great in football. He went on to play college football at Louisville. Gotcha. So it's like, oh, when you're good in sports, schools offer you scholarships. Yeah. So I'm thinking like, oh, I'm smart. I'm top of my class. Schools, maybe it's going to offer me scholarships and stuff. So I didn't know anything about applying to scholarships, about FAFSA. I didn't know anything about it there really. So I'm just thinking, I'm just kind of just riding. Like I was like, I did the hard part. I was like, okay, I'm thinking this is going to be easy now, you know? So it's like April. I haven't done a single college application, you know, like a month before graduation. Yeah. Now, granted, I only learned I was going to be at the top of my class like in March, which I remember asking them, and I was supposed to find out in January, which of course would have gave me time to do some applications and stuff. Right. I didn't get like my class rank and GPA and stuff like that until March, which I feel like
that's crazy.
It was intentional. There was some intentionality there. I can let y'all read between the lines of why. Yeah. Because I was the first Black male to ever be valedictorian at that school. Oh wow. So I'll let y'all. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Read between the lines on that. But yeah, like, but there were still some people who were very, very helpful. I had a teacher, Ms. Drama Bridges, who somehow just kept moving up with my class. Yeah. She taught me in kindergarten. She taught me in third grade. She taught me in eighth grade. Yeah. So she just kind of kept moving up with our class. And she had a daughter who was at Mississippi State at the time. Yeah. And had to go up there. My sister at the time was also a teacher. And she had to take students up for science fair. Yeah. So again, I had never been on a campus visit or anything like that. So her, Miss Jordan Bridges, her daughter Daly, was having to like be a student working in the engineering office. Mm-hmm. So she was able to get me a meeting with the dean of engineering at the time, Dr. Donna Reese. Okay. And not only was she the dean of engineering, she was also a computer science professor. So I walk in, again, just as green as could be, and Dr. Reese saw something in me and took a chance on me.
That's awesome.
You know, so, and she helped me, you know, get admitted, all this type of stuff. And then from there, as I'm sitting out with my parents, we were sitting out in front of McCain Hall after that, another guy came by, Dr. Tommy Stevenson, and he had overheard the conversation. Yeah. And he was over kind of like, it was called like the IMAGE program, which was like for minority engineers, students. Yeah. And he got me in a summer bridge program that summer.
Nice, man.
So it was a program for students who were interested in like, minority students who were interested in engineering.
Yeah.
And that kind of set me on the path. Like, again, I knew I wanted to major in computer science.
Yeah.
I had no idea where I was going. So like, that's the only college application I ever finished.
Wow.
And so I ended up at Mississippi State, went through Summer Bridge, met lifelong friends, like, guys who was my roommate that lived, the two guys who live right next door.
Yeah.
Who were roommates. They both live here in Atlanta now. So, good friends and such. So like, it gave me a tribe, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but it was also quite a challenge because, as I mentioned, I was at the top of my class. We had to take 2 classes in Summer Bridge, public speaking and pre-calculus. Math I always have been pretty good at.
Yeah.
To the point where in high school, I took every math class.
Yeah.
To the point where I got to my senior year, there was no math classes left for me to take.
Nice.
So I went like a whole year without taking a math class. But I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
My very first test at Mississippi State, I get my pre-cal test back, and it says a 48.
Oof.
And I'm like, she obviously transposed these numbers. I was like, I know I missed a few problems.
Right.
But I'm sure she made a mistake. She's a little older. She probably meant an 84.
Yeah.
No, like that tore me up. Like,
Yeah.
It humbled me really quick to say like, okay, you gotta step your game up, Right. So yeah, like I ended up going from, a very small place where academic stuff kind of came easy to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Where I got a very swift punch in the mouth of like, okay, I gotta, step it up and continue to grow and progress.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I always wonder like how that transition is coming from like a small town to, sort of like a big community, big university feel, like what that was like. How'd you adjust to like friends and all that other stuff?
Yeah, that was an adjustment too. Like I said, Summer Bridge was instrumental because it put me, like I said, in a group of other students who were like-minded.
Okay.
That were, they were coming from like bigger schools and stuff.
Yeah.
But they still had similar goals and aspirations and was able to feed off of that.
Yeah.
Again, I remember just kind of struggling initially beyond just the academic part, but just like socially and because again, I was pretty young, but also like not only grown up in a small place, but kind of isolated. So I lived in the country of the country. Like, we didn't even, that's like we lived in the town limits.
Yeah.
We lived just like out on the highway. So it was one of those things where I realized only as I got older, if I was not in school, I was not around other kids.
Gotcha.
I spent like a lot of time just, and maybe that's even part of where some of the tech stuff came from, because that was my window into the world.
Gotcha.
Because like I said, my sisters, they were older.
Yeah.
There was like really no other like, neighborhood kids that I hung around for the most part. We would play basketball together every now and then or something like that. But for the most part, I spent like a lot of time alone as a kid.
Yeah.
So, video games, internet, whatever like that, that was my window into the world.
Gotcha.
So now, as I was moving into spaces where I was being more social, it was like trying to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
And I think throughout, school, like high school and stuff, I had built an identity of, one, I had to be a chameleon because my academics put me around a certain social group. But then, like I said, I had such this huge extended family that put me around a different social group. And then also, playing sports and stuff. So I remember getting there and I was kind of just feeling like this like lostness or something like that, where it's like, okay, I had the identity of I was known as the smartest kid around. Yeah. It was like, I'm no longer that up here, at the university, I'm not that anymore. So I was like, and then also, playing sports, it was like, well, I'm not playing sports. So like, man, what am I? And I remember, shout out to my friend Clarence. I don't even know if he remembers this. He lives here in Atlanta as well, but shout out to him. I don't know if he remembers this. We were just in my truck one day and I was kind of saying those same things. Yeah. He was like, just be MJ. Yeah. It's like, huh. And that kind of stuck with me. It was like, oh, I get to decide who I am. That's dope. Man. Because I didn't have to be defined by this one thing of like what I do. Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, just be me. Yeah.
No, that's dope, bro. The fact that you had to do that self-reflection, I think it helps you to even like progress more. Yeah. And you're able to compartmentalize like, what you're doing outside of like your identity. So that's really dope, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You said you played video games. When did you get your first video game and what was it?
Oh man, I had to be 3 or 4. I know I was little. It was NES.
Okay.
So it was like, as soon as my motor skills allowed it, it was just the two buttons on there,
Yeah,
A and B.
yeah.
So yeah, like that was my first one. Super Mario Brothers came with Duck Hunt, the little orange gun. What else did I have on the NES? Man, I can't even remember, but I think where it really took off me was Sega Genesis. That's the one that I think really stuck with me.
Gotcha.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog, Shinobi. I think Shinobi, man, that was my jam.
Yeah.
Like I know a new one just came out on PS5. Can't wait to play it. So yeah, like I think the Sega Genesis, that was like where it really stuck with me. Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and stuff. Like I was always big into fighting games. So yeah, that's what really stuck with me.
Dope, man. Yeah, I was NES, SNES guy. Even now I have the mini. Yeah, I got the mini now. I used to emulate games. So
same.
Same. Get the ROMs up.
Oh yeah, man. I can't remember the sites, but I had it's because it was one of those things like as a kid, it was like obviously you couldn't get every game that you wanted. So them ROMs came out like in college. Oh boy.
It was over, bro.
Yeah, games that I didn't get a chance to play. Man. I went back and played like Battletoads and stuff like that. Double Dragon, like games that I never had myself. I went back and played them like X-Men, the Mutant Apocalypse. I love that one. So I definitely went back and did that once I discovered ROMs.
Dope, man. Yeah, I'm a big gaming fan. My arcade is like right around the corner. So,
dope.
Yeah, well,
let's check that out. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, so you're in college. You didn't do well on your first test, and then you got to readjust. What helped you to like readjust? Because I mean, you're not necessarily by yourself, but you're how far is Mississippi State from where you lived?
It was roughly 3 hours.
Okay.
But again, it was I had to grow up a lot, and because again, I think my parents did a great job. But like I said, it was a built sheltered and stuff, and isolated. So I had to grow up a lot. Even like my very first time driving to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Before driving those 3 hours, the furthest I'd ever driven by myself was like 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
So even as I'm driving up there, I'm driving by myself, but I'm like tailing my dad. Like I'm like following him the whole way.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of growing and learning experiences where whenever I failed that first test, I was spiraling a little bit, because I was like, I had never really failed anything. And now I think one of the things I can lean on though was just personal adversity I had in my senior year of high school, where I always loved playing basketball and stuff, but I didn't play in high school until my senior year.
Okay.
And part of it was academics. Part of it was anxiety, which I didn't have the name for at the time. I just knew that almost every day that I went to practice, I would almost throw up. And it was like affecting my ability to focus in my classes. So I was like, okay, this ain't worth it. But it's like, once I got to my senior year, it's like, okay, I feel like, my main mission was accomplished. I'm going to go ahead and play. Yeah. Because I played in middle school. I always loved it, played pickup and stuff. And, immediately made like team captain and all that. So we started the season off decent. I think we won like 3 of our first 5 games. Lost every game the rest of the season. It was like killing me inside because I was playing so hard. Yeah. Like every practice, I was trying to win. Every drill, I was, leaving it all out on the court, and we were just losing. And like no matter how hard I played, it wasn't mattering. Yeah. So like that was adversity around like sometimes you got to learn how to lose. Yeah. And you got to learn that you can put your best foot forward and still fail. Yep. So, but you keep pushing. Yeah. Then unfortunately, I had a injury. Dislocated my shoulder, and that was the end of that. Gotcha. And then I also I had an uncle who I had grown close with who passed away at the same time. Okay. So it was like just personal adversity and stuff, and learning how to deal with real life things that come along. Yeah. So like I said, fast forward back to like college, I'm struggling, starting to spiral with that. And my dad comes up, and I'll never forget this. And my dad is a very, very blunt man. Yeah. He's he cares about you, but he does it in his own way. Right. And he comes up and he drives me to Huddle House. So not even Waffle House, Huddle House.
Is that like a Waffle House?
It's like a Waffle House, but not it's good. So we go to Huddle House, and again, dad, blunt, straightforward. And I'm telling him, I was like, man, I used to be able to figure stuff out so easy. And I was he just gave it to me straight. It's like, son, what you did before don't mean shit. He was like,
Yeah.
you gotta figure it out.
New
like,
chapter.
Yeah, it's a new chapter, new challenge. Figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that was kind of it. It was like kind of that talk. It was like, okay, yeah, I can't dwell. And it's kind of like the same thing, like going forward. And I mean, throughout life, what I did at a previous job, yes, it may help me get a new job, new opportunity, something like that. But for the most part, you get in a new situation, you still gotta perform. You still gotta, you can't rest on your laurels of what you've done before. You still gotta, step up and continue to progress. So that was it. Like, he came up, gave it to me straight, and he was like, yeah, you got to step it up. Like, it's not gonna get any easier. So you just got to get better.
No, that's many different sort of like ways you can take that. For me, when I look at that in terms of applying this to the podcast and also to like our audiences, with especially AI, we're going to talk about AI now and all the jazz, but like with the onset of it and how people are losing their jobs, losing opportunities, but they've been at these big organizations for decades. It's like, man, I built so many different systems. I built these algorithms that you use and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like there's a new chapter now, unfortunately, and my hope is not saying just kind of, forget what you've done, but you have to understand that there's a new chapter now. Like, you have to be able to move past that. And as difficult as it is, knowing that you've done all these amazing things, life unfortunately throws you circumstances where you just gotta pick yourself up and just roll on to the next, man. So the fact that your dad taught you that, and going back to also what you're saying with sports, that's one thing I love about sports as well. I tell people this all the time. Adversity in sports teaches you so many other things that you learn in different areas of your life that you never factor until you face those challenges, And for me, it was the same thing where sports was my everything, up to college. I thought I was going to be like this NFL guy and other stuff. And once I knew that I wasn't getting there, that reality and stuff was tough. But then knowing that I still had family members that depended on me, my brother who's blind, that he needed certain things done. And I needed to, kind of move on to the next chapter. It's extremely important. So for those who are facing challenges now, I don't know what your situation is and kind of what you're going through, but it's extremely important that you kind of look at the upsides and then learn how to move past that, because there's others that are depending on you, and you can do better, and I know you will. So
yeah, for sure, man. It's like it's one of those things where you hear, like with baseball, if you succeed 3 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. Like, it's a game built on failure. So like being able to face constant failure, face constant adversity. It's kind of the same thing with programming, like coding, right? My code fails 10 times before it works once. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to, constantly debug stuff. Like, it's so rare that I would write code that works on the first time. And if it did, I was like, I don't trust
side eye.
I was like, this is like, if it works the first time, I was like, hold on, why did this work? You know what I'm saying? So, like, being able to face that constant failure, constant rejection, and kind of almost having that next play mentality. Because that's something I would admittedly still struggle with sometimes, where like, if I can't solve a problem, if I fail an interview, like a job interview or something like that. Like, you can't let it stop you. And this is me almost talking to myself at this point, where I can go back and watch this next time is facing adversity or something like that, is that whenever that happens, like, you got to move on. The world doesn't stop. Like, you mess up, whatever, you got to move on to the next play. And that's not to say that you completely erase it from your mind, right? Because you learn from those failures, from that adversity and stuff. But you it's one of those things I always heard, like, you can't let something beat you twice. Because let's say you get so hyped up, like maybe it's an opponent you're underdog against, something like that, or something, whatever, that you feel, you hype yourself up and it doesn't go your way. Now you're deflated, and you can't let that, like I said, affect the how you move through the rest of your life. You can't let it defeat you twice. So it's like, all right, you gotta accept it. It's like, okay, this didn't work out my way. What can I learn from it, and how do I move on from there?
No, definitely, man. So after that conversation with Pops, what happened, bro?
got my ass in gear. Like had to lock in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really it. Like, and also learning how to use my resources better.
Gotcha.
You know, learning how to go to the professors better, learning how to, you know, lean on classmates and stuff like that.
Nice.
Learning that I don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that was a big lesson from that.
That's huge.
And that I was able to kind of take forward with me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, even like now in my career, is like being able to like how to be a good collaborator.
Yeah.
You know, how to be a good communicator.
Yeah.
Because I can sit there and bang my head against the door, you know, trying to solve this problem by myself.
Yeah.
Or sometimes now, or I could just like, you know, ping somebody. It's like, hey, have you seen this problem before? They may like, oh yeah, I just solved that last week or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, again, I think there's a nice balance there, right? It's like, don't give up your autonomy or like, you know, this learned helplessness of being able to like, oh, anytime I run into a roadblock, let me go run and ask for help immediately.
Right.
It's like kind of give yourself some time, because that's how you learn and grow, right?
Yep.
Is like you just like you working out, you strain your muscles, you know, or you challenge your muscles, right? You to try to, you know, grow and progress or whatever, and you put them under tension and stress and like that. Just same thing with your brain, like, and I think that kind of leads to an interesting thing as we talked about. You know, we get into AI talk is that the prevailing theory now that everybody's outsourcing all of their thinking to AI. You know, where I think again, it's kind of the same thing with, you know, whether it's AI, whether it's a superior, like a manager, whatever, you know, try to, you know, solve it yourself and stuff like that. But then don't be afraid to use those resources to help you get to a solution. Yeah.
Definitely find balance, man.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get into that a lot more. Okay, so I love the fact that you say you started working with others a lot more, because I think through school, university specifically or secondary, like I think the biggest thing that has been a theme throughout the podcast is networking, like that being like your biggest sort of gain or benefit that you get from college. Because a lot of times, even in the workforce now, like you said with coding, like, oh yeah, I'm stuck on this bug or whatever it is. I get this error code. Have you seen this before? There are people that may have seen it, but if you're not talking, communicating, you know, you'll be stuck in 2-3 weeks. Like, oh yeah, bro, I ran into that like
for sure,
like a month ago, man. So to me, I think it is that fine balance, being able to like reach out to individuals, but then also knowing when to, before you ask a question, have you researched, have you, you know, done your due diligence before you, you know, just start popping questions left and right. And I think to me, for those who are in school now, that sort of should be your biggest takeaway. It's like, how am I building bridges? And you know, our slogan, building bridges, shaping futures in tech, is like, how am I building bridges to be able to shape my future in terms of what I want to do ongoing? Because you never know, your classmate could be the next C-suite at XYZ places, you know?
Man, if that ain't the truth, man. And then they could be speaking your names in rooms that you're not even in.
Exactly.
You know, that's one of those things, like I try to speak highly of people that I know, you know, even if I'm, you know, if they're not in the same room, and, you know, because that can lead to an opportunity for them.
100.
You know, it's one of those things where it's not only who you know, but who knows what you know. You know, like if you can put, again, that's part of the reason I think I do a little bit more like the speaking and talking and stuff like that, because where you give yourself the opportunity for people to speak your name in rooms that you're not in, right? You know, by putting out what you know, what value you can bring to the table and stuff like that. So having those good relationships, those, you know, just being overall pleasant to work with, you know, I think is a huge differentiator in your career.
Definitely. I think the soft skills are definitely understated oftentimes. Like, you can't be a jerk, bro.
No.
Nobody wants to work with a jerk.
Nobody, man. It's like there's like the myth, or whatever you want to call it, like the rockstar engineer or whatever, 10x engineer, right? It could have diminishing returns, where if the cost of someone pushing a lot of code is them being just an absolute nightmare to work with. You know, so especially, let's just keep it real with us. You know what I'm saying? Like we're already kind of again behind the 8 ball in a way. So like that's not to say be a pushover or anything, right? That's not saying that. Like, but being able to just being like pleasant to work with, and but also like knowing your stuff.
Yep.
Where like if you know your stuff, you can stand on it, right?
Yep.
You know, that's not being a jerk if you're just standing up for yourself and saying like, hey, no, I know,
right,
like I have a opinion on this technical process or project or whatever.
Yep.
And it's backed by evidence and it's backed by like skills and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's not being a jerk. That's just saying like, hey, no,
I can literally show you.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Yeah.
like, you know, I have actual knowledge and experience and stuff like that around this.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's like the line to try to walk.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. Definitely agree to that. I think working with engineers who look like me, that's one of the biggest things I try to tell them is like, it goes a long way. Like a lot of jobs that have been offered haven't been for me applying. It's literally just like you said, somebody who knows what I know.
Yeah.
And to me, that is often reflective of me just having those conversations. Oh yeah, I need help with this. Oh yeah, I got you. Don't worry, bro. I'll take care of it. Just little small things like that go a long way. And I think for us in the workforce, it's not just like trying to be complacent or be what's the word you used? We're not trying to be like too nice. And we're not trying
complicit or pushovers or anything like that. Yeah.
Pushover, yeah. At the end of the day, you still want to be able to create more opportunities for yourself. And it's not just us that's doing it.
Yep.
Like I've seen a lot of my Caucasian counterparts that do the exact same thing. So for us, I think we're just leveling out the game and then utilizing the same tools that they use to be able to excel. So, and it's also just, it works when you're working with somebody that's nice, that's, that knows what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I think it really is a force multiplier.
Yeah.
Of being able to like, because think about it, man, you're like, oh, this person knows something. Like, golly, do I want to go deal
Don't
with
want to
it?
ask them.
Yeah. Do I want to even deal with what will come along with them
Right.
versus like, oh yeah, this person, you know, they're knowledgeable and you know nice to deal with and kind of like that. Yeah, like they're gonna want to deal with you more.
Yeah.
And then therefore like other people want to deal with you more and stuff like that. That the opportunities hopefully would have just compound from there.
Definitely.
You know, so it's it was, again, I'm from the South, right? So you always catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
The Saints, man.
Yeah. No, it's a good friend of mine who always messes with me. Like I can't really do them on command.
Yeah.
But again, I grew up in the deep South. I grew up in the country.
Yeah.
Like I'll have these sayings. I'll just throw them out every now and then, and I don't realize that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? Yeah. So I'm sure one or two more will come up at some point during this conversation, but I can't really do them on command. They just kind of just stuff I like grew up around here.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope, man. All right, cool. So, did you do any internships in college?
I did.
Undergrad, at least.
I've been giving my dad a lot of credit. This might be one. We got to bust him up a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to. Which I college students, if you're listening to this, intern. If that's one of if you're a college student listening to this, it's one of the biggest takeaway, intern. So I didn't intern until the summer between my undergrad. I graduated undergrad before I was going into grad school.
Gotcha.
So that was my first time doing an internship, and definitely wish I would have interned earlier. It vitally important. Because work, like an actual work environment and like the academic environment is so different.
Yep.
You know, especially if you're like in a formal computer science program, you're going to learn a whole bunch of theory, a whole bunch of like theorems, all this type of stuff.
Right.
But then sometimes you get on the job and it was like, can you change the color of this button? You know?
Yeah.
So it sounds weird, but it's almost two different, like, it's like a different skill set that you can go through and graduate undergrad with a computer science degree and not actually be prepared to do the work that you need to do.
Yeah.
In like an office, like a, you know, production environment or whatever.
Right.
And I think at one point that's where the advent of those boot camps, you like, if you remember like that era, like boot camps were kind of filling that gap, right? Where it was like, man, we're getting people that's coming out of school that don't know how to code. Versus then you had people that was going through boot camps and getting 6-figure jobs after a 12-week boot camp because they could come in and at least do junior level work. Now, don't ask them to implement an algorithm, right? Or anything like that, you know, but if you needed them to just do like some junior level front end work, you know, hey, you know, add this button, you know, add a click handler, whatever. Yeah, they could do that. So I think there was still like that gap in the formal education and the practical skills needed. So internships, like I said, I think is a huge, or they even offer co-ops at the school I went to. Like I said, and I wish I would have did that. So I think it's a really important thing for students to do.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that's kind of like my hope with this whole podcast piece is that we really focus a lot more on the practicals, because a lot of the theoreticals, okay, what differentiates you then from every other comp sci student out there? What have you actually done?
Yep.
So I think the practicals, like you said, are really important, and also like the process of finding those internships, I think is important as well, because a lot of people are asking those questions like, okay, do I go through NSBE? Do I go through like state programs or school provided programs? And what if those are all saturated? What's the next step? And my hope is that through conversations like these, they learn, okay, Will went to this, he did XYZ. All right, how can I get into this as well? So yeah, man. Okay, so this was undergrad, and then once you graduated, what'd you do? Postgraduate, did you get a job or?
So I went straight to grad school.
Okay.
Yeah, went straight on to grad school.
Why grad school versus like working?
So part of it, I had a scholarship.
Okay.
It was called it was from the Department of Defense. So it's the DoD Scholarship for Service.
Nice.
Where it paid for my last 2 years of school.
Nice.
So I did 5 years undergrad. So I actually paid my last year undergrad and my first year of grad school, and then I did a TA and ran a lab to pay for my last year of grad school. But it was basically, it sounded good in theory, where it was like, okay, they're going to pay for 2 years of school, and then when you graduate, you work for 2 years for the DoD, and then it's like that year for year thing.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, this sounds great. I I don't know, statute of limitations up. I don't know if this matters anyway, but I got accepted into, I just stayed in Mississippi State.
Gotcha.
So I got accepted into grad school even before I took my GRE. So it's like, all right, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Because my other option, I was looking at coming here to Georgia Tech.
Okay.
But yeah, it just made sense to go ahead and stay there. It was already paid for. I already got accepted. All that stuff. So it just made sense to go ahead and go on through. So yeah, like I said, I focused in cybersecurity. Even though I ain't worked a day in cybersecurity since I graduated, I went straight into just an engineer.
Yeah.
So like I said, it sounded good. Like it sounded like I was set up. I was like, oh man, school's paid for, and then boom, I'm gonna have an automatic job whenever I come out. So I thought. So we were actually in kind of a similar situation that we are right now with the federal government, where they couldn't pass a budget. So they had kept passing these federal, this was 2013, continuing resolutions to then, boom, we started to get into government shutdown type stuff.
Gotcha.
So and the thing is, with the part of the scholarship, you were locked in to work for a DoD entity.
Yeah.
So a lot of those 3-letter boys, right? A lot of the 3-letter places. So thing is, nobody was hiring because they couldn't pass a budget. So it was like hiring freezes, furloughs, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what seemed like to be a slam dunk decision for me to have that scholarship and have a job, I was screwed.
Man.
Because again, similar type thing. I'm a month away from graduation.
Yeah.
And I don't have a job.
Yeah.
Because it was like all the places that I was supposed to have to work at were not hiring and were actually laying people off, like furloughs and stuff.
Yeah.
So man, it was looking a little dicey for a minute.
Yeah.
But then this kind of goes back to like one of those things of just being nice to people and being pleasant.
Yeah.
I think this was February. I went up to the Tapia conference. So it's an annual conference that's for diversity in computing. Okay. And I went up there and I presented some research. Mind you, some research I had just started like 3 weeks prior. So like I slapped that poster together, man. So I don't know how that thing got accepted, but I was like, I'm glad it did. Yeah, I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
So I was presenting some research about botnets. Okay. And so I'm up there and flew into DC and because I was having to go to DC 2 times in a row. 2 weeks in a row. So I had to go for that conference, fly back home to Mississippi, and I had to fly to DC again for an interview that I really was hoping I was going to get. Yeah. But on the ride, the shuttle ride from the airport over to the venue, other students that are flying in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just happened to be talking to a student and again, just being pleasant, personal and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, you should meet this guy named Tony Bayless. I interned, at this place last summer. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Love to meet him. And I don't think I can't remember if I actually got a chance. I maybe got a chance to speak to him for just a few minutes at the conference. So, and I remember getting to speak to like another person who I really admire, who's actually going to be running the AI conference here in Atlanta soon, Dr. Jamaica Burge. Okay, so nice. I got to speak to her because she was a former employee of the place I was going to interview at that next week. Okay. And she had, prepped me, gave me a lot of good information. So again, shout out to Dr. Burge. So, went to the conference, went great, went home. Flew up the next week again. Like I said, this is kind of like my last best ever. This is the company I really wanted to work for at the time and stuff. Get up there. Like I said, I'm flying back to DC on the plane. I'm starting to feel bad. I take a nap. I wake up. I feel terrible. Yeah. I wake up. By the time I'm in DC, my voice is gone. Man. So I'm like at the hotel, got the interview the next morning, drinking tea, cough drops, whatever I could to try to feel better. Yeah. I'm at that interview. I'm like out of it. Yeah. Like terrible. Because I remember they had 2 locations. They had a DC location, a Boston location. Gotcha. So I was supposed to interview in DC that week. And I think like a week or 2 later, I was supposed to interview in Boston. Yeah. Interview went so bad, like they canceled the Boston interview. Oh wow! Like they didn't care nothing about that I was sick. Like I'm obviously sick. Yeah. Like voice is hoarse. Like I'm everything. So I'm like, man,
and you flew in for this, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. DC for that. Like, and they didn't. They had no care in the world, man. And so I'm obviously physically feel terrible, but now I feel terrible. Like, man, that was a job I really wanted and stuff. Yeah. So later on, the guy Tony Bayless, that again got introduced to briefly at the conference, right? Like I said, again, it's one of those things. Yeah. Who being pleasant. Right. Tony reaches out to me on LinkedIn. I think it was like that next month. He was like, how would you like to work on the West Coast? I was like, sir, I'd like to work anywhere right now. It's anything. Right. So I was like, I graduated like a month. I like to work anywhere. So so he set it up. Like they were having like this accelerated hiring event at Livermore National Lab. Like I had never, I'm trying to think. At that point in my life, I had been west of Texas once. And that was like that same year I had to go to like Seattle for an event, but like I had never been west of Texas, like really. So I'd never been to California, didn't really, again, it's computer science, right? That's the place to be, but I never had any inkling of going out there. Right. I was trying to stay in the South because again, a little Southern boy, little country. That's what you need. Yeah. So I go out there and again, I'm nervous as all hell, but Tony, he again, just because he heard about me and stuff, helped put me in that position, and I got the job. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Yeah. Because it was me taking a leap of faith, like moving out there. Yeah. Not knowing a soul or anything like that, and it helped me grow tremendously as a person. So, like I say, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just being pleasant to be around. Yeah. If I didn't run into feel so terrible. I can't remember her name right now. Because we ended up, whenever I went to the lab, she ended up interning out there again. I'm so sorry. I can't remember her name right now. But she, spoke kind words about me to Tony. Yeah. Tony remembered me. Yeah. And that led to an opportunity for me getting my first job out of college. Because that was a Department of Energy laboratory. So they ended up opening up, because given that like all the DoD entities were furloughed and all that type of stuff, they opened it up to other entities. So that was the Department of Energy lab. So they opened up where I could work there. And that kind of chain of events of just kind of being pleasant to be around and being nice.
Full circle, man.
Led me to getting my first job.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Dang. Yeah, you got a whirlwind of events that happened there, man. How'd you like your first gig, man? Like, what'd you learn, I guess? Because we talked about it. Like, there's the theoretical versus now you're practically doing stuff. Yep. What'd you learn through your first year, man?
Man, that first year was something because it was just a lot of changes. Okay. Beyond just starting your career, right? Yeah. I had lived in Mississippi my entire life. Okay. Even where I went to college, Starkville, like 40,000 people. Yeah. And half of that is like the student population. So the only other time I ever spent extended time out of Mississippi was I did an internship in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, which is also very rural. It's Amish country.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, like it was like I remember the first day I got there, and first day I got there, went to Walmart, and I just felt people looking at me.
What you were wearing or something?
No, it was just like I was like, "What's going on?" Because I was the new black dude in town. Like it was like it was like yeah, it was like I was like we haven't seen that one before. So and then also I think I ended up asking someone a question at the edge of the parking lot. It was kind of like this wooden post.
Yeah,
I was like, "What's that?" It was like, "Oh, it's where the Amish people tie up their horses and stuff." So like, I'm still in rural areas, just a different type of rural.
Yeah.
So then I moved to the Bay Area. You know, it's like I moved 5 years into the future.
Yeah, but I said completely different, bro.
Yeah, completely different. Yeah. So,
what year was this?
2013.
Okay, gotcha. Oh yeah. That's real different.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I moved into the future.
Yeah.
But it was so good for me because obviously I was in the career that's conducive to that area, but it was just good for me to just my growth as a person, to be exposed to and again, I've always had a more of a liberal mindset and stuff like that, even coming from like a small rural place that is historically conservative.
Yeah.
But to be exposed to like different people, different, come from different walks of life, different cultures, different types of food, like it expanded my mind. This is all obviously outside of work.
Right.
And then at work, it's that thing like, it was still a big learning curve for me because my master's studies were more like cybersecurity. I wasn't doing a whole lot of like heavy engineering, like development.
Yeah.
So, but then I got hired as a software engineer, and it was a big learning curve around like, oh, how do I put something into production?
Yeah.
And it was the challenge was compounded because this is the Department of Energy lab, and part of the reason, I already had like a clearance through the DoD.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a factor that was helping me in getting this job.
Gotcha.
And so I required a clearance, but at the time, OPM, which is like the
personnel management.
Yeah. So they had a hack. They had gotten hacked, which is terrible, right? Because they're responsible for like doing security clearance stuff. Yeah. So that contributed to like it taking a calendar year for my security clearance to come in. Man. So my whole first year, there was a building that was, behind like security and stuff like that office that had my name on it that I couldn't even go into.
Gotcha.
Because it was taking so long for my clearance. So I had to basically sit. Initially, it was fine for the most part when I first got there, because I got there around the same time as like the interns.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, I was mostly around the same age as them and that type of stuff. But the interns left. I basically sat in that building by myself. So to the point where my whole team for like our Monday meetings would have to walk over to the building because I couldn't go in our building.
Wow.
And then they walk over, had the meeting, and they go back to their office and stuff.
Yeah. So
I was in this building by myself 6-7 months, after the summer.
Yeah.
Where it's not like I could just go to somebody else's door and knock and ask a question.
Yeah.
I would have to message them like on Jabber or whatever. And if they had the time to, if they could help me, via Jabber, great.
Yeah.
But if they had to come physically help me, they had to walk down the block.
Yeah.
They didn't always want to do that, I guess understandably so. But like I was basically just on my own.
Myself.
On my own for the most part of the first year of my career.
Wow.
And it was, definitely a challenge because, like having a senior engineer and manager, stuff like that, it's like they're there, but kind of not.
Right.
And so that was definitely a challenge. I was able to, deliver my first project. I think it was around like the 6-month mark because again, it was tough because there was even systems like that I couldn't even access yet.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, but it was just a lot of self-learning at the time. So I would say definitely had an atypical start to my career of like being, even though I had a master's degree, because, I don't think I had a junior engineer title, but for all intents and purposes, I was a junior engineer.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we're going to put you over here in this dungeon and
figure it out.
Yeah, just hoping you just kind of figure it out,
right,
and I had to.
Yeah,
But then after my clearance came in, it became a little bit better.
And this was like a year, you said, right?
Yeah, it took right around a calendar year. And then I worked on that team, I think for like another year and a half or so. And then I ended up changing teams that then it wasn't it was all open source. It was because I like the lab, had some stuff that was cleared and stuff like that. But the team I moved to after that was the climate science research team. All of that, I didn't need the heavy clearances and stuff anymore. So
gotcha.
So I was able to work a little more openly.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting start to career. Do you have any other black folks look like you on the team?
No, on that one, no.
Okay.
I do have an interesting story around that though.
Okay.
Where, yeah. Now we had people from other backgrounds.
Gotcha.
That was on the team. Like my manager, she was Mexican. We had I know one of she was from Russia that was on the team. So yeah, we had some people from different walks of life that were on the team.
Gotcha.
And I remember there was a guy who came in the same event that I got hired at. So we came in on the same team around the same time. Yeah. And I think his clearance came in a little bit quicker than mine because he was in the same building with me too. Gotcha. But I don't know. We just, again, I grew up in the South with a certain culture of just like, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, that type of stuff. Just speaking to people out of courtesy. And he was from the Midwest, I think like Nebraska or something like that. Yeah. And I would speak to him. He was never speak back. I was like, okay, no big deal.
So you say hi, like nothing?
Yeah, like nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, you can imagine the Caucasian or whatever. Like again, I didn't take offense to it, but I was like, okay, no big deal.
No, I would have been offended, bro.
I was like,
you hear me talking to you?
I was like, man, look, we ain't got to be friends. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like we just work together. Right. So I was like, that's just me. Yeah. That's a more on me thing. That's just how I was raised, being courteous and stuff. Like, right. Speak back, no problem. Okay, whatever. And I'll never forget it. It was like one day randomly out the blue, where again, I didn't really have a problem with it or anything, but he randomly asked me, he's like, hey man, we're gonna, me and some friends are gonna go out to trivia tonight. Would you like to go? Like, that's curious. Cause I love trivia. I was like, my initial thought, I was like, I love trivia. I'd love to go to trivia, but not necessarily with you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Cause I was like,
what kind of trivia, bro?
Right. So that's the thing though. And I was on my drive home, like I had a short commute, it was like 15 minutes, talking to one of my homies. And I tell them that. I was like, yeah, like the dude that never speaks back to me is on trivia. And my friend had to point out to me, he was like, you realize it's February, right? I was like, hold on.
Here's my token, bro.
Was he trying to invite me out to Black History?
Bro, that's wild. That's wild, bro.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So it wasn't until my friend pointed it out. He was like, yeah, it's February.
That's like, crazy, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
So that was my first work environment. Yeah.
That is wild, bro. Sheesh. Yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm not going, bro.
Oh, I didn't go. I absolutely didn't go. Sure didn't.
Did y'all talk after that?
I mean, about work stuff.
Okay.
But
okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I wasn't speaking or nothing like that.
Right, yeah. I'm saying hi to you like, nah, hey, you want to go
with just out the blue. Like, we've been working together for like probably almost a year and a half at that point.
That's crazy, bro.
And
sheesh.
Wow, good.
Okay. Man. Well, did your next couple of years, did that change a little bit in terms of like?
It did. Because the team that I went to after that was actually led and managed by a Black dude.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Dean Williams, which, man, the utmost respect for Dean. He was, I think, maybe the only ever Black distinguished engineer at that lab.
Wow.
Because he was running the climate science program and he was bringing in his own funding.
Yeah.
Like he was bringing in millions of dollars.
Nice.
To that laboratory and like internationally recognized research.
Can you talk a bit about like titles? Because I think people don't necessarily understand the difference between like staff, principal, distinguished.
Yeah. So you typically have like a career ladder. A lot of times you may, come in starting at junior or like even sometimes associate software engineer, and then you may have junior, and then you can have software engineer. Then after that, you typically have senior, staff, principal, and then like distinguished. Um, Typically, I would say it's kind of newer. Once you got the senior engineer, a lot of times they would then try to push people to a managerial track to try to then progress their career.
Yep.
But a lot of engineers are not suited to be managers, and a lot of people don't want to.
Yep.
So they kind of then you have like this parallel track, I guess you can say. That's where staff kind of starts,
yep.
where you're more on the technical like leadership and the decision making side. You still like maybe coding day to day,
right?
But you're also doing things around like architectural decisions,
yep.
Interfacing with those managers, right. Interfacing with directors and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you're starting to be more of like the driving force around like technical decisions.
Yep. So
it kind of, I guess you say, almost runs parallel to some manager track. So then you, like I said, staff, and then you can have principal after that, and then the distinguished. So. Those are the ladders, I would say, pretty common across a lot of organizations.
Yeah, no, completely right. Yeah, I never ever want to go the route of managerial. So staff is like the route that I always like typically like look towards, because you still, like you said, you got that technical.
Yep.
You keep that technical capacity, but you also like you're not architecting. You're not leading like what scaling should look like, things like that. So
absolutely. No, I've avoided people managing. I'm continuing to avoid it. Like it's just not something I particularly want to do. I mean, I know it may run counter to some of the things I was saying, like being pleasant to be around, but I also don't want to deal with people. Like if I don't have to, like, and that's not to say, again, like I try to be, nice, personable and stuff, but.
Managing people is stressful, bro.
Yeah, it's a completely different skill set.
There's some people who are built for it. I know I'm not built for it.
Me either.
To those who are, hey, kudos to you, but I'm not built for that, man.
Me either, man.
I got my tolerance. Like I'm nice, but it's like after a while, it's like, all right, bro, come on, man, what's going on?
yeah, it's tough, man, because you got people out there who almost try to put the entirety of their career progression into their manager's hand.
Yep.
I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you shouldn't want that either. Like you shouldn't never like completely turn over like all of that into your manager, because your manager still, they're trying to look out for their own career progression as well. So I do not want the managerial stuff.
For sure, man. All right, cool. So how long were you at Labs for, man?
I was there a little over 7 years.
Okay. All right. What'd you do after Labs?
So after I left there, I went to New Relic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so New Relic is like one of the they're what do you call it?
Like telemetry
MSC?
and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so like telemetry. I was particularly on the logging team.
Okay, yeah, because they're a big competitor of Splunk.
Yep, Splunk, Datadog, all that. So we were constantly looking at them and like, what feature should we try to? They did this thing. Okay, we should probably do that too.
Yeah, dope, man. How'd you like that?
I liked it. It was a completely different type of environment.
Okay. Where
the lab, again, government spaces, they operate in their own way. A lot of red tape.
Yeah. Yep.
You're constantly worried about, if projects are being renewed and all that type of stuff. So it's just a different thing. And then one of the interesting things about the government is that you're pretty disconnected from your stakeholder, at least in the projects that I was working on.
Yep.
Where I could build this thing and then put it out there. I have I almost get no visibility, no feedback and stuff like that until like how the people are using it.
Right.
Especially if you're at the just kind of like it just said like the senior engineer level, something like that. You're not always interfacing with the PI or something like that. And then the PI, the people that they're interfacing with. So it's definitely a lot more siloed and stuff like that.
Yep.
Versus then moving into this enterprise, like commercial enterprise project.
Yeah.
Especially we had an on-call rotation. Oh, you would get direct feedback from customers of saying like,
this feature does not work the way.
Yes, exactly. So and not only that, now you have to worry about things like stock price and stuff. I didn't have that experience before, like worrying about if the stock is doing well and all that. So it was just a completely different type of environment, but just valuable lessons just the same.
Nice.
So being able to, see directly how features that you worked on, move the bottom line. So it was a good experience there too.
That's dope, man. So you got RSUs, I'm assuming.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Did you end up vesting those years, or did you leave before?
Oh yeah, what did I have? It was like a 1 year cliff. So yeah, some of them I definitely cashed some of them out. So yeah.
Nice, man. That's awesome. RSUs, again, for those who aren't familiar, restricted stock units, basically like getting stocks from companies, and you just gotta wait a certain time before you can actually sell or whatever you want to do with them. So cool, man. All right. So you're with New Relic for how long?
2.5 years.
2.5. Okay. This was in Bay Area as well?
Yeah. So but it was fully remote.
Nice.
It was a very interesting time in the world when I got hired there.
Okay.
So because I had, again, another connection, right? Like a connection, like, cause I used to teach at a coding bootcamp part-time at the Hackbright Academy.
Nice.
And there was a student, I don't even think she was my student. But she knew of me from there.
Gotcha.
And she was at New Relic, and then I think she was also in Dev Color. And like Dev Color, like one of those things that people not familiar, it's like a professional organization for Black software engineers and Black technologists.
Gotcha.
And we ran into each other, I want to say at a Facebook conference. And, she was already at New Relic, and she mentioned like her team was hiring and stuff. And at first they, like I lived in like the extreme east edge of the East Bay. I was extreme edge of the East Bay. And their office in San Francisco. I was like, do I want to do that commute? I was like, do I have to move and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But then she came back to me. She was like, oh, we're now doing like fully remote hiring. I was like, oh, cool. Let's talk.
Nice. So
she referred me, and I think I interviewed with them. It's like maybe January, I think 2021.
Yeah.
So, and I had been just having a bear of a time with interviews, like kind of going back to stuff we were talking about, like, struggles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Man, it was probably like 30 some odd interviews I had failed over like a 2-year period.
Yeah.
Because like I was ready to leave the lab. But then I was constantly failing interviews.
Gotcha.
So it's like I felt stuck.
Yeah. What roles were you applying for?
Mostly senior roles at the time, because part of the reason I was ready to leave the lab was whenever I moved over to the climate science team, I was leading a team, but I was stuck in it was like a weird situation because of the team, the project, it was like a consortium. Okay. So the project was based at Livermore, but it was a consortium of a bunch of different universities, research places and stuff like that, all working on this thing called ESGF. It was like basically a data platform for weather data and climate research. Okay. So when I first came to the team, it was to fill a need in that they had a person he was essentially a DevOps engineer, who had basically just disappeared for like 6 months. I don't know if it was like a sabbatical or what, but he was responsible for like the release process. Yeah. And it was a very manual, error-prone process. Okay. So I had to come in, kind of learn it just so they can be able to release new versions of software.
Gotcha.
And so then I had to try to re-architect it from like first just get it, where we can release again, but then kind of re-architect it to make it more reliable and more automated, because this thing, man, it was the worst piece of software I've ever seen in my life.
He was a DevOps guy, but he was doing manual releasing.
I use DevOps guy. Again, this is not to trash anybody. I use that very loosely. Okay. Because it was a DevOps job, I should say, because the release project, the release, like the code base, it was 8,000 lines bash script. I had never seen anything. It was like an engineering marvel and simultaneously the worst thing I'd ever seen ever. Because I was like, the fact that you even like, so because it wasn't this guy who wrote it, it was the previous engineer.
Gotcha.
Who was apparently very sharp, but also very vindictive.
Okay.
So I think they say he did it like that out of spite.
So you have to read it.
Yeah. I think he did it like that out of spite. And then somehow I don't know what he did, but to get fired from that place was very difficult to get fired from that place.
Yeah.
And I think he somehow accomplished it because I think he was just not pleasant to work with.
Yeah.
So like I said, again, incredibly smart, incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Built this incredibly convoluted piece of code that somehow worked, that he mostly only understood the ins and outs, but was probably not the most pleasant person to work with.
Yeah.
So I spent like a year and a half tearing that thing down and rebuilding it. And again, it took a long time because I was trying to pick somebody's brain who was not there anymore.
Right.
And to kind of make the long story short, I was team lead and of like the release, team or whatever. And so I was building a new framework. And the thing is that script integrated a bunch of pieces, like a bunch of other packages that like people from those other organizations were responsible for.
Gotcha.
So I was trying to say like, hey, y'all, I'm building a new framework. Could y'all adapt your code to this? Nobody did it. Because even though I was the lead and I ran the meetings and stuff like that, progress updates, and I didn't have any authority over them.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have, so I had no managerial power. I had no type of, so I had responsibility with no authority.
Yeah, yeah.
So all I could do was suggest that they make these changes. And I tried to appeal to the better nature, the technical. It's like, hey, if we do this, it's going to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as I was progressing it, they was like, oh, well, he's building this, so we just going to let him continue to do it.
It's the worst to give ideas, man. People just like, oh yeah, run with it.
Yeah. So it's like, there's not like I'm doing their reviews or doing their, reports, because they have their own priorities at their own individual institutions that they're worried about. Yeah. So my priority was not necessarily their priority.
Yeah.
So, and not only on that, with the rubric that was there was like, if you were a team lead, you were I think supposed to be at like a level 3.
Gotcha.
So whenever I got hired, they moved me over laterally at a level 2.
Oh wow.
And they never promoted me.
Yeah.
So that's why I was ready to leave.
Gotcha.
Because I was pissed off. It was like, yo, not only that, because that project as a whole, we won an R&D 100 award.
Yeah.
Which is like they said, like the Oscars of science. That's like a really, really big deal. Right. And like they were promoting like we won this, all this type of stuff. And the thing is, without the work that I was doing, we would have never been able to release any new versions.
You didn't get promoted. You're supposed to be level 3, and then you had to pick apart this crazy line of code that this crazy guy decided to set up. And then on top of that, when it came to like winning awards, like you guys were winning awards, like I guess the Oscars. What was it called?
The R&D 100.
The R&D 100. So you guys basically won the Oscars of like your field or your area, and then you still didn't, I guess, reap the benefits of that. And while you're leading sort of like the efforts around that, I'm assuming you talked to management and all that, like for promotional, and they still.
Yeah. It was tough because, as I mentioned, Dean, who I think there was already some. How could I put this? Wayward views of me as I came to that team.
Gotcha.
Because Dean was a black guy, and it's like, oh, he's hiring a black guy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And putting him in like a leadership position. I interviewed for that job and everything. So I think there was already some wayward views of me, and then I was like 25 at the time.
Probably things like DEI type hire bringing you in.
Yeah. So I was but that was the rub though, is that's exactly what they used against me. It's like, so I was 25, 26 at the time, leading a team. So I'm trying to, again, this is all new to me too, right? Learning experience and stuff like that. So obviously like, some of it was me too. Like some of it was like, me learning how to lead, how to, build out this process in a better way. So yeah, it definitely was me learning along the way, but I was accomplishing for the most part what I needed to do. Now, again, I look back on it. I definitely wish I would have did things technically different. Yeah. Because in hindsight, I didn't use the right tool for the job. To make it. And again, I think that was the biggest lesson I took away from technically. Use the right tool for the job.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but at the same time, I was doing, the work to make sure that we were still being able to, release new versions of the code.
Gotcha.
But whenever it came time to talk about promotions and stuff, Dean unfortunately fell ill, and had to medically retire. So I didn't have like that advocate anymore.
Gotcha.
And then, so the person who was like my second line supervisor, he didn't have direct visibility into the work that I was doing. He would only kind of hear from other people.
Gotcha.
And so then I'll never forget it. One of the things that he cited to me, despite, I was the laid out criteria, I was leading the team and stuff. He was like, you spent too much time on non-programmatic stuff, meaning DEI.
Yeah.
Where at the same time, they were tapping me on the shoulder. They was like, hey, we're going to have this photo shoot celebrating lab. Like I was in all the photo shoots. I was like on the website. Like they were sending me to recruit. I was like, I'm not a recruiter.
Right.
Like I'm an engineer, but they were sending me here. Like I would come here to the AUC. I would come to it, to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Just because I was young and black and I looked like some of the students that they were trying to recruit.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it was used against me, unfortunately.
Yep.
And it left a bad taste in my mouth. And that's part of the reason, like I said, I was trying to leave and get a new job, but then I was struggling to like secure a new job, like with failing interviews and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I was, those last few years was definitely a challenge, but it was good lessons learned. It was good lessons learned technically, like I said, around like using the right tool, doing more research instead of like I said, you can build something really fast in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So, learning the right tools for the job, for the particular thing you're trying to do. And then also it was just like a crash course in like office politics and stuff like that, where, again, I'm still very passionate around DEI and stuff, but also doing it on my own accord.
Yeah.
Because like in that case, just like we see the attack on it now, where, the one thing, it was another lesson learned is that like when companies and stuff, they care about something, they put money behind it. Mm-hmm. So that was just a lesson learned where they did some really good initiatives. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, the lab did some really good stuff and really good initiatives. But like that was just a lesson learned of like you have to be very, very conscious of what you put your energy and stuff to in the workplace.
Yep.
Because like I care about the D&I stuff. A lot of it now I do of my own accord and not necessarily have to it be tied to like a company or something like that, because we can see now that can go up in smoke. Yeah,
no, definitely, bro, definitely. And then in terms of like New Relic, from a diversity standpoint, how did you feel? Was it night and day?
Yeah, that it felt really good at New Relic, especially when I first started. I know I got a little sidetracked explaining how I first got hired there. Like I said, I got hired. I think I accepted the role in February of 2021, which it was going to be fully remote, but contingent I stayed on the West Coast.
Gotcha.
So at the time, I was leading a different project, and I was trying to push that out the door. But I ended up at the time, I think I was like part-time remote at the lab. I went in on like 2 days a week.
Gotcha.
And I was trying to wrap that up, and then I finally let them know, like, hey, in March, I think it was like the first or second week of March that I was leaving and stuff like that. And then I forgot my last day. It was something like March 12th or something like that.
Gotcha.
And we know how the rest of March 2020 went. So global pandemic.
Yep.
So I wasn't supposed to start at New Relic until May of 2020. I accepted the job in February because like I told them, like, hey, I want some time to wrap up what I was doing at the lab. And then I had some travel set up because I had conferences that I was supposed to speak at. I was supposed to speak at I think it was Blackest Tech that was supposed to be in New York.
Okay.
And then I was supposed to fly directly from there to here until Atlanta to speak at Refactor Tech.
Okay.
The world shut down like 3 days before I was supposed to go to New York, which was fine because I was like, ooh, I don't want to get stuck on the other side of the country and stuff.
Yeah.
So again, I started New Relic at a very, very interesting time. So I ended up moving my start date up like to April because I was like, well, I can't go nowhere. I can't do anything because the Bay Area treated the pandemic very differently than like Atlanta did. So everything was like kind of shut down.
Dang,
so I started there, and my team was very diverse. So very, very diverse at New Relic.
That's awesome. I mean, the negative of like working through pandemic is you don't get that interaction. But I think the positive is you get to kind of like build sort of like your own craft, and you kind of see what you really, not only the area you want to be in, but also in terms of like what you want to do long term. Outside that. So shortly after that, it seems like you came back to the A, bro.
I did. So, so I was still at New Relic when I moved here, and
so you were at New Relic when you moved here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, again, interesting story how that happened. Because again, when I accepted the job, it was fully remote, but it was contingent that I lived on the West Coast.
Okay.
So I didn't even thought about moving to LA.
Gotcha.
Because like that was, I think my initial plan was that I accepted the job February. It's like, okay, summer, let me move to LA. Still be on the West Coast, but I've been in the Bay for a while. Let's try something different. Obviously pandemic and a lot of that to happen. So one day, this was sometime in the fall, had to be like late September, October, something like that.
Yeah.
Had to reach out to an engineer on another team. Like I said, we had on-call rotations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And had to reach out to another team to get some help on an issue. And the engineer, who's on the call, he was also like a black engineer or whatever. And he was, I think, was based out of Portland.
Gotcha.
So New Relic had Portland. They had offices here too, but I think it was more like sales, marketing. But the main engineering offices was like Portland, San Francisco.
Gotcha.
And so he was up in Portland, and after he helped me with the problem, we just started chopping it up. It was like, ain't a whole lot of us here, so it was like just start talking. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, me and my family, we about to get ready to move." I think he said Detroit.
Okay.
I was like, "Hold on, what?" I was like, "You can do that?" He was like, "Yeah, like my manager told me, they lessened the restriction that we don't have to be on the West Coast anymore."
Nice.
I immediately got on the call with my manager, like immediately, and I was like, "Hold on."
So you telling me?
You're right. I was like, "I can move," and it was like, "Yeah." I immediately like put wheels and like plans in motion because my lease was coming up. I think like right at the beginning of January, right at the top of the year, at least to the ending anyway. So, I immediately put plans in motion. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna move."
Yeah.
And initially, I was looking at New Orleans. I know, Bill, you were talking a little bit before recording. It was just talking about being sports fans and stuff that.
Yeah.
I had 3 criteria for where I was gonna move to next.
Yeah.
It was having like a decent airport, like a airport so that, if I need to get home, like Mississippi or something like that, or if I just wanted to travel.
Yeah.
Decent weather. I grew up in the South, lived in California. Like I'm not really a cold weather guy for the most part. Like I don't do snow or stuff like that. And then have an NBA team.
Okay.
Those are my 3 criteria.
Gotcha.
So again, that automatically limited to really 28 cities, right? Because again, there was only 28 cities that had NBA teams because New York and LA has 2 teams apiece. Yep. So that limited, and then a bunch of cities got wiped out because of the weather.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I went moving to like Minnesota, or something like that. So, it narrowed it down to a few cities, and it kind of came down between New Orleans and here.
Okay.
And then I already had friends from college and stuff here. I was like, it's close enough to home that I can, be there like a day or so. So
nice.
I moved here in January of 2021. So I was still at New Relic, but
gotcha.
Yeah. As soon as I found out, again, it was one of the things just being nice to people, right? Like I said, just being unpleasant to be around because, he helped me with my problem. We could have ended the call right there. Right. But by us just chatting a little bit, I found out because again, that was not publicized to me at all.
Gotcha.
I don't think my manager told me that.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing an email, nothing about that, that you still had to be on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I might have moved earlier, So, because I was just I loved living in the Bay Area and stuff. Yeah. And I appreciate how serious they took the pandemic.
Yeah.
But man, I was out there paying that high Bay Area rent.
I was just about to say,
and especially that year, it was, of course, particularly tough because of the pandemic, everything shut down.
Yeah.
But we also had wildfires that year. So there was even days I couldn't even walk outside. I lived right next to this big, beautiful park. Yeah. I couldn't even go outside and take a walk because the air quality was so bad. So I really was just stuck in my apartment.
I vaguely remember some of the smaller wildfires, but of course, everybody, remembers the biggest wildfire that happened at that. But during that time, you just hear I guess in passing, there's wildfire that's happening. But I guess I never really thought about that. That could be a thing where if you're there, you always got to be in constant sort of almost fear in a
I always got to have your go bag ready,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. So it was one time just looking out my apartment window and I just see the hills just turning black.
That's
I was
crazy,
like,
bro.
I was like, oh
That's
boy.
crazy.
And I was like, where am I gonna go? You know,
Yeah.
like everything shut down. So
Yeah.
it was tough times.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Oh, let's talk a bit about finances too, man. Because like paying prices in SFO is completely different than you know down in the A. Did they readjust pay because you moved as well?
They did.
They did. Okay.
They did. I ended up. I think it was like a 15% cut.
Ooh.
I took, but it kind of balanced out in the wash.
Gotcha.
Where taxes.
Okay. Oh yeah.
The taxes were so different. I think even though with the 15% cut, I think I still have had more take home after moving, even with the 15% cut because of taxes. Yeah. And then I think, but then also almost immediately after I moved, I got a raise. Yeah. You know, nice. So it worked out really, really well awesome. In that regard.
That's awesome, man. And then how long were you there for after moving to ATL?
For about another year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, so about another year and a half.
Gotcha. And then that's when you went to the most recent company, right?
Yeah, in Rockstar. So again, it just interesting times as I'm thinking back on this stuff and saying it out loud. So with New Relic, I ended up getting laid off. And part of it was just doing just like life circumstances and stuff. So like I ended up getting divorced. Okay. So like again, life happens, it was challenge and stuff like that. And unfortunately it affected my work. Yeah. So again, economic downturn, all this type of stuff. It was like that first round of layoffs that hit the tech industry after the pandemic, as things were starting to bounce back. You know, it was like, oh, people overhired, all this type of stuff, whatever. But I wasn't necessarily surprised because I was self-aware enough to know that I was not doing my best work and living up to my own standard because again, life was lifing. Life was happening. So during the summer, we would get this thing. It was like Relic Recharge Week or something like that. The whole company would get the time off. Yeah. And because I think it was right when I got there, they can change like almost their entire business model. Okay. So like to celebrate that, they would give almost the whole company off that week off. Okay. And then I remember, so we got that week, and then I took another week off like right after that. So I had 2 weeks off. Okay. So I remember it was a Friday, the Friday before I was supposed to go back to work. So this is like my last day of like my time off. Yeah. And I'm asleep and like, I hear a phone buzz. It's like an email like early in the morning. And they send out like, this blanket PR statement or whatever. It's like, we're about to have a workforce reduction or something like that. If you have been affected, you will know or whatever. I was like, I look at it, turn over, go back to sleep. A few minutes later, I get another email. It's like, attend this meeting at 10. Oof. You're part of the workforce reduction. Oof. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. Not necessarily surprised because again, I knew, like I said, I wasn't living up to my own expectations. I can be honest about that. Yeah. But I wasn't tripping because one, they gave us a pretty solid like severance package to the point where a former teammate of mine, the other black dude, he was like, man, because I told him, I was like, yeah, I was part of the layoff. Yeah. And I told him the severance. He's like, man, can I volunteer to be laid off? So he was trying to get laid off after that. He was trying to volunteer to go. That's hilarious, bro. But the reason I wasn't tripping is because, like I said, that was a Friday. Yeah. That Wednesday, I had already had the conversation about my next job. Oh, okay. So, yeah, my next job, again, shout out to the bars. He was, again, this kind of goes back to like those connections and being pleasant to be around and stuff. Yeah. He was in my dev color squad for like 4 years. Me and him, have become cool and stuff like that. Nice. Mentor, huge respect for him for the things that he's done throughout his career and built, and just always been willing to help me, guide me along the way. Yeah. He knew about my previous work like in the government spaces. Yeah. So as his startup was then, spinning up like their government division, he immediately thought of me. Yeah. And I'd actually interviewed with his company. I think it's right before I interviewed with New Relic, like right there, like in December of 2020. Gotcha. Or no, I was at New Relic. I think I interviewed with them, but I didn't get the goes to show that he, was doing things above board. I was the homie, but he still, he had recused himself from the interview process, had somebody else interview. Yeah. I wasn't the right fit at the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was just giving me a handout, giving me a job. Like I earned my keep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just had a conversation with him 2 days prior to being laid off.
Yeah.
Around that, and then I got the interview scheduled, and I got that job. So
Nice.
my me getting laid off from New Relic turned into like a 3-month paid vacation right before I walked into my next job. So
wow.
So getting laid off is never really a good thing, but I think it worked out in the best possible way. It was like a best case scenario for me at that time, just because I already had like a perfect opportunity that was presenting itself to me, and then I got to walk into something really cool.
Cool. And then your title, was it the same?
It was senior engineer at the time.
Okay. And then you moved up to staff like recently though, right? Okay.
Yeah, I got promoted to staff like a year after being there.
Okay, awesome. In terms of like finances, I know we didn't really talk too much about that, but did you make the most in your family compared to like others?
For sure.
Cause I can imagine that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's one of those things. It's I had a conversation with another college friend of mine where similar type thing. He was like, sometimes that I can almost, and not to trivialize this, to use this term, because I know it can mean different things in different contexts, like in a military context or something like that. It's almost like survivor's remorse.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Where you want to enjoy what you make, but you also feel this obligation.
Right.
Yep. But I also look at it as it's part of the reason that I work as hard as I do and stuff like that is, to help my family.
Yeah.
And, it's a responsibility that I don't take lightly.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where it helps you be a lot more savvy with the things that you deem valuable and deem to spend your money on.
Yep.
Because like my parents, they've earned their rest.
Yeah.
They worked hard.
Yeah.
In raising their kids, doing their job and stuff like that. They've earned their rest. So if I can help, take some burdens off of them financially, I try to do that. Like I try to I basically just have direct deposits to my mom like every month.
That's awesome.
Because her children they're like kind of her life's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, she's earned the rest, the respect, all those things. So like I take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah.
And I balance it right. I try to budget well.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest spender in the world and stuff like that. I like my things. I like sneakers and stuff like that. I have my little things that I like and enjoy. But it's definitely one of those things where it's kind of like that black tax, right?
Yeah.
Where it's larger than just what you see now. It's like a more of a macro thing, right? Of people being historically disenfranchised in this country. So and that plays into things that that happens today. So and then also just coming from an impoverished area as is. So I definitely try to make sure to give back and support my family as needed.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that's one of the first things I was thinking about when when I saw that you're a staff engineer, and then you told me about coming from like one of the smallest towns, down south probably, and knowing the amount of work that your family members have put into you, and then your dad kind of raising you to respect culture and to understand and appreciate it. I can see sort of like, like what you said, that survivor's guilt where you feel like, all right, I feel like I'm committed to helping them, but I also not just from, I feel like it's a sort of like a dawned on responsibility.
Yep.
And you wear that, badge or that sort of like responsibility with the honor. So, kudos to you for kind of, bearing that mantle, bro. So
I appreciate that, man. It's like, and it's one of those things too, you don't with Black people, you don't want to just feel like, just accept what's given to you.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those things, as I talked about my struggles whenever I was trying to find a new job and stuff like that. Like I said, I was unhappy with work because I feel like I was not being compensated properly.
Yeah.
And then I was failing interviews. So it was like weighing on me.
Yeah.
It was weighing on me from like the intellectual standpoint. It was like, I had to like do some therapy around that to dig into it. It's like, yo, why is this affecting me so much? Because it's like, oh, I feel like I'm not being told I'm not smart enough and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also that I didn't want to feel like I was like, oh, just accept what you're given.
Yeah.
You know, because part of me, I was mad at myself that I was even mad because I was like, I think about where I came from.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you sitting here getting mad because you can't leave one 6-figure job and find another one. So it's like,
problem is crazy.
Right. So I was like, I was kind of getting in my own head about that. Cause I was like, but then I had to tell myself like, no, don't get in that mindset of just saying like, oh, I should just be grateful for what I already have or what I'm given. Like, no, you know, so it was like, if you feel like you are not being compensated properly, deserve more, then like, go out and try to get that. Don't sit there. Don't just sit there and say like, oh, you know, here, take this and, you know, be happy about it. Like, no. You know, I think again, there's always trade-offs to be made, right? There's definitely always trade-offs because like all money isn't good money and stuff like that. So there's definitely there's times to you know, you got to pick your battles, you know what I'm saying? You know, so and I've experienced that throughout my career. I've experienced, you know, even more recently in my career and stuff like that, as far as like picking your battles, as far as like what you should fight for and should accept. So it was definitely a fine line to walk.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see that for sure, man. I think, you know, kind of just hinting at that as well. There is sort of that stigma when it comes to like negotiating. You know, I think a lot of Black folks I've talked to, I'm like, oh yeah, did you go? No, I just, you know, I got 6 figures. Like, but when you look at the median across the board, like you're taking below that. So there is that stigma of like, should I even negotiate? This is 6 figures. I should be happy, but that's like, you deserve more. And it's okay to know that you deserve more and ask for more, request for more. And I think that's my hope is like when we talk about conversations around money, that people get comfortable with asking for more. It's not okay to just be the best engineer on your team, but getting paid less than, you know, your white counterpart because you didn't ask for more.
For sure.
So,
like it's one of those things. For the most part, if you've gone through an interview process, they're not going to pull the offer for asking for. I mean, of course, you're not asking for anything egregious, right? But it's something that I've experienced recently where, you know, I just accepted a new job. And they down leveled me. And like part of me understood it because I'm leaving a small startup to like a much bigger company. So leveling could be different. But at the same time, it was like, I had this internal struggle around like, no, I don't want to be down level because it's like, you know, maybe the ego aspect or stuff like that. But at the same time, it was like more compensation. So it was kind of like, okay, what battle is worth fighting here? Is it worth fighting the ego battle, or is it worth fighting, you know, the economic battle here where it's like I said, you know, economic situations have changed and stuff like that, just at a macro level. So which battle is worth fighting here? It's kind of like, I know I can do things at like, you know, staff level, whatever, like I've done it before. So it's like, is this title as important to me to, you know, versus like additional compensation? And it's kind of like, all right, you know, I may make the decision that in this case is better for me. It's like, again, maybe a younger MJ, younger William would have been like, give me this title because like, you know, I care about this. And again, that's not to say that that's not important. They absolutely are. Because I was reading a book, I think it's called like The Life of a Staff Engineer or something like that. It's an O'Reilly book where they were talking about titles, especially for minority engineers, people from, you know, historically underrepresented backgrounds. They mean more because people are going to have assumptions around our skill sets in the first place. So titles are more signals for us. You know, like they give us, whether we need the credibility or not, there are these signals that help us walk into the room we already can walk in the room with our head high, but it's a signal to everybody else. It's like, no,
put some respect on it.
Yeah, put some respect on us. So like, part of me wanted to fight for like, you know, the title or whatever, but it was like, yo, it doesn't matter to me right now.
Yeah.
Not as much.
Yeah.
You know, so, and again, I can always go and get that title again because I've had it before.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes about like picking your battles and what works best for you in your career in that given time frame.
Yeah. No, I think hit the nail on the head there. Exactly. At the end of the day, it's like what matters to you most in terms of like your next opportunity. And I look at it almost like the glass half full sort of mentality that, you know, you have a title that may be beneath what you're currently doing, but at the end of the day, you get more pay, and then there's also more room in terms of vertical growth at this new opportunity now. So from a positional standpoint, you make more money and less responsibilities.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
I saw a Reddit thread that said that exact thing where somebody was in that situation. It was like more money for less responsibility. It sounded like a win-win. So
I'm good with that, bro.
Yeah, and I think and again, like I said, I'm speaking pretty candidly here and stuff like that, but I definitely don't want to throw anybody on the bus. Like coming from a very, very small startup, you have to wear a lot of hats.
100.
You know, you have to wear a lot of hats. So my title of staff engineer should have maybe a few asterisks on it, like as far as like plus sales engineer, plus you know, plus project manager, like all these other things that it should probably have a couple little footnotes or something onto it as well. So like being able to but that's like the gift and the curse of working at a seed stage or a Series A stage like startup, is that you have to wear a lot of hats, do a lot of things, but you learn a lot and you grow tremendously. And that's kind of what my time at Moroxa was. Like I was able to expand my skill set tremendously in different ways from, like I said, just from a technical standpoint into like, you know, getting more into the data engineering, AI, ML space, which is a space that I always had interest in. And I've kind of worked adjacently to, but like really diving head first into it there. And then, like I said, for like the last year or so, I've been like our sales engineer. So anytime there was a demo that needed to go out or something, or like a customer demo that we need to do, I usually got tapped on the shoulder for it. And that kind of went back to my public speaking and doing conference talks and stuff like that. So that kind of, you know, helped each other, you know, to give an experience of being able to get up in front of people and talk about technical concepts. And even going back to like my teaching experience when I was, like I said, TA in college or whenever I taught at the Hackbright Academy. So being able to get up and teach technical concepts to people from all walks of life. So being able to take it like really up here or I can say really down here and get like really in the weeds technically, or to be able to use like metaphors and stuff like that to try to talk to people who may not necessarily have the kind of deep technical background. So I had to do that. I had to learn how to write proposals for like government contracts and stuff like that and manage that stuff. So it was just a lot of different skills I had to cultivate that kind of came along with that title that, you know, man, I always got expressed in that title. But like, so I think that's one of the reasons I was like, okay, yes, I would love to continue to you know, staff, because like, again, it's that signal, right? Whenever I walk into the room and I'm about to walk on stage and talk to people, they see staff engineer, like again, I know what I know, right? But it's a signal to them of like the level of expertise that I bring to the room. But yeah, in this case, I was like, it's been, like I said, I love my time at Rockstar because it was such a unique opportunity to work for a Black-owned, Black-led venture capital funded startup.
Nice.
You know, doing like really hardcore technical work. I don't know if I could have asked for more like a more like me opportunity. You know, it was so cool. I think it was like the time it came up where it's like, all right, it's time for me to like move on to something different. But yeah, for almost 3 years, like I would say definitely the best work experience I've had to date.
That's awesome, bro. No, that's awesome, man. And then right now, you know, kind of, you know, capping this out is like AI has been like your thing over the last couple of years, right? Um, I know we're gonna whiteboard MCP and A2A, but when it comes to like what you've seen in the tech space with trends around like AI, especially how it's affected like your industry, like what are some things that you want to touch on, if anything?
Man, it's been a paradigm shift. I think both from a macro and micro level. It's one of the things I always say, like, follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Where you see the new thing, like where the VC money and stuff like that gets pumped into. We saw it with like Web3, metaverse, blockchain, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I was never as big a believer in that type of stuff.
Okay.
Particularly like the metaverse, VR, and like this is more just personal thing. Like I say, it just didn't grab me, just didn't interest me or whatever.
Yep.
With AI, you see the similar type of wave, right? Where all the money that's flooding in from in the startup world and all that type of stuff. And even like at the enterprise level, everybody's trying to shift to AI.
Yeah.
To the point where they were using it to cut headcount and stuff like that. So you see those macro level things with that happening. Obviously with Nvidia, their value exploding and stuff because like it's an old saying, it's like when everybody's digging for gold, sell shovels.
Yep.
And their GPUs are the shovels.
Crazy. Yeah.
So you see it on the macro level, but then the micro level is like from day-to-day operations or like day-to-day things like with coding, the different tools that are coming out that can help or hurt, depending on how you use them, your daily development process of building software. So I've kind of looked at it, how can I leverage these tools to, make myself more efficient and stuff. And even being able to use things that I may not be as knowledgeable with, like I've helped friends with like mobile applications, like mobile apps and stuff like that. I don't necessarily have a background in like Kotlin. Well, Kotlin, I mean, I've done Java, so Kotlin for the most part, but like Swift.
Yeah.
So, but being able to, now use these AI tools to say like, I know how to code.
Right.
I just may not necessarily know the syntax or the idioms or the idiosyncrasies of this particular language. Right. So now AI can help me fill those gaps.
Yep.
Or even just like data modeling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm doing some data modeling and stuff like that. Almost using it as like an expert second opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've built out, this particular data model. Do I have any gaps? Am I going to run into any security issues, stuff like that? Using the tools to kind of, like I said, not outsourcing all of my critical thinking, but using it as like a second helper, like a expert
assistant,
or something. Like, so, and then from there, starting to figure out like, okay, how can I build tools to potentially solve my own problems? So it's been a big paradigm shift, and we're just seeing like rapid advancements. And I think the big challenge is now, because we've seen those reports of like, a lot of these companies trying to use AI, they're not getting value out of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we are coming into the tail end of where everybody's just throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks with AI. And so now we're trying to be more judicious. Like, let's not use AI for AI's sake, or generative AI, just, to be more specific in this case. Not using it just for the sake that it's there. And everybody's like, oh, well, this is the money going, so we got to be there. We got to do it. It's like, okay, how can we use this to solve actual problems instead of just like shoehorning it into our existing product?
No, completely agree. I think same thing with like machine learning. Like when machine learning was like a huge thing, like I think 2013 through 2017, whatever that was. Every sort of like EDR and like DevOps tools, like, oh yeah, we use machine learning in our application. It's able to like pick up on trends and all this other stuff. We fed all the data, but it's like, for what?
To what end?
Yeah. What is it producing that's different from what you can do with maybe just a simple sort of like lookup or whatever it is. Like, and I think AI is the same way with like certain companies, like your bottom line, how is this going to help you increase your bottom line? And I think companies are now figuring out like the hard parts between that. You're hiring all these like super prompt engineers to do X, Y, Z, but is that what you really need? I think that's the hard assessment to do. Even small businesses, I'm not saying that companies can't benefit from AI. I just think like you got to think about like the why first before you implement it. And I think oftentimes most companies aren't thinking about that. You know, CEOs start cutting like a bunch of people before they say like we're gonna now move strictly to like agent based, you know, model for like XYZ services, and then now like, oh well, that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
let me retract and come back. You know, so I think over time people are like adjusting now to like what's really needed from the tool sets itself. You know,
and I think one of the big things is you almost need like I think places that struggle with it, you almost need to look a step lower.
Yeah.
Look at your data process.
Yep.
Like because one of the things I've said in talks is, and I started saying this like a year or so ago, and we're starting to see it now, is I think that next real innovation or wave or big use case is, you know, ChatGPT came out with GPT-3, changed the game. It's like a general use model.
Yep.
It's being able to take those models and somehow apply their capabilities to your own data.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of companies or whatever don't have a clean enough data process or data model to even get value out of it.
Yep.
You know, like things are getting better where like, you know, RAG was awesome because again, obviously we hit the limitations of like, okay, these models only know the data they're trained on.
Right.
So now RAG gave us a retrieval augmented generation, for those who are not familiar, gave us an ability to put our data into a vector database and then use that as, you know, a new data source, you know, for the LLM to operate on. But and then now we, you know, getting into like MCP and stuff, right? So now that's where MCP is coming in, being able to, you know, give a common interface and protocol to connect to these external data sources. So
standardize it. You know?
Yeah. So like it's one of those things where you got to have your data right first,
right?
You know, before you can even try to really use AI stuff, because it's garbage in, garbage out. Like, you know, it's 100. Not magic. It's 100. Really just like statistical probabilities on data,
right?
You know, so like you got to get that part right before you can even try to, you know, do stuff with like LLMs or whatever, because without that, without having the first principles of like your data, where you do like a medallion pattern or something like that, like, if you're just trying to throw stuff at it, and it can do some stuff with unstructured data, right? But at the same time, you still need to have like, and I'm seeing more and more stuff that's coming out around like AI evals. Like, you need to be able to do like evaluations to make sure that like you're not putting trash out there. AI slop, I guess they're calling it.
Okay. I think I forget, in Splunk we call it we use data models in the same sense, but it's basically like tuning the data to make it like SIM compliant, where it's like we're using a common sort of like barometer to like label what things are. I think that's sort of that same idea there. And I think for me, when I think about that, it's just like you said, it's really simplistic. It's like what you're putting in it, does that even make sense? Like you can have an Excel spreadsheet, we can go really basic. If the column that says server and then you have a bunch of IP addresses there versus like a host name, whatever it is, like, does that make sense? Like, and if it doesn't, let's clean that up first before we start throwing like all these other different variables in there. And I think for the most part, I think that's what companies are finding out about, like leveraging AI is, okay, what is our purpose in even like implementing this tool? And is it going to be able to be beneficial for us based upon what we're trying to do? Or is it just we're just throwing a bunch of random information and expecting it to do magic? It's like I can't do that, bro.
Man. It's like there still needs to be the humans in the loop. Like I can even talk about a project at Moroxa that I had where it was somewhat similar, where we were working with this test flight group in the Air Force. And they sent us over a bunch of data. And essentially it was like, just try to figure out something. Like they were doing like maneuver training. So they were like, can you find like any trends in the data? And so I get the spreadsheet. It's like, I mean, I know latitude, longitude, stuff like that, but it's like pitch and yaw and all these other things. And I was like, I've never flown a plane before. Like, I don't know what does this mean? And so like, I'm looking at it and I'm trying to decipher it. I even just found like an auto ML tool. I was like, I'm just going to run it through auto ML and see if I can figure out something. Then come back with nothing. Like, I was like, I don't know what this. So I remember having to get on a 90-minute call with this Air Force pilot and him walk me through what this data means.
That's crazy. Bro.
Because it's like, without the context of the data, Like for all I know, he could have gave me data that made no sense at all.
It's just information.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of information that I had no context about. I was like, okay, we need to, because like what maneuver are we like?
Yeah.
Or is there even thresholds? Like if you're like the extent of my knowledge of flying a plane or like a fighter jet is watching Top Gun Maverick. So it's like, I don't know, like whenever they're banking right or whatever, I don't know any of this stuff. So it's like, can you give me some context, because this data could be faulty, you know, and you're asking me to get insights out of it. So like, having a data, like I say, the cleaning process. I wish I could remember the all the words, but I remember I did a talk. It was called like the OSEM process. It's like it's OSEMN, and I can't remember the full acronym, so we'll have to edit this out because I can't remember. I know it's obtain something, extract, model, and we'll I'll add that back in later. Yeah. I'll look that up before we get to the whiteboard. But like doing process like that, where it's essentially a data, it's a obtain, scrub, extract, model, and then like evaluate, something like that, but I'll confirm that later. But it's like the whole data cleaning process of like making sure that you're getting data that can then be turned into like operational information.
Gotcha.
You know, and that was like the missing context, right? It's like, oh, they wanted operational information, actionable information from that data. But again, if you're not having the proper context, the proper data modeling, all that type of stuff, no matter how, if you're missing that step, no matter how powerful your large language model is, you're probably not going to get the results that you're looking for.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny you talked about that analogy of like expecting to be like a fighter jet pilot. It's like, bro, like, it's not what I do, man.
Bro, like, again, as I talk about a lot of things that I learned working at a small startup, that's one of those things, like working with different stakeholders who they have very, very deep knowledge in something themselves, and they expect you to have it.
Right.
Even though, like I said, they're talking to me in terms like about, I had to learn way more about an F-35 fighter jet than I thought I would have ever had to. And because they're talking to me in terms like, this is stuff they do every day. They know in and out, stuff like, I couldn't tell you the first thing about like how to do this with a jet, because along with that, they gave me like this simulator. Yeah. And it was like, okay, this is simulating one of our test flight training. The flight is supposed to like take off, do some stuff, and land. So I'm running the simulator, and again, I'm only looking at the things I know, right? I know what altitude is. So I'm looking for changes in altitude. And I'm just watching this like it's not changing. I was like, yo, I don't know what's wrong. He was like, oh, you didn't run enough. The plane never took off. I was like, well, how am I supposed to know that? Like, only thing I know is like the altitude ain't changing. So I was like, is the simulator broke or what's going on? So that's one of those things where people, and that's why I say like communication. And being able to take highly technical concepts and talk to different people and stuff, because like it's not a common skill, and it's not it's an attainable skill, but it's not something that people who are deeply technical and knowledgeable in a particular thing, may always cultivate. Because they were going literally over my head talking about these flights, talking about these planes.
And just to that last point, I think having the ability to communicate technical concepts in a way where it's easily translatable or understandable, that's what AI does, and that's still a very much needed skill set for folks in the tech space, like being able to translate things that are really high level and just kind of bring it down to somebody who may not necessarily be in that field. That's really important. And for you, it's like, I don't necessarily need to be a fighter jet pilot, but just can you explain to me just like what this means and how this works low level? And he was able to walk you through that. So
it's a big thing, man. I think that's one of the most popular, to pick up what you said, one of the most powerful uses of AI. Like one of the things I think that's super cool now is like research papers that come out. They can be very dense and hard to read. But like being able to run into AI and stuff like that and say like, put this in a little, a little more digestible way to read it. Cause I know they have, I think it's the website like Papers with Code and stuff that's out there like that. So different research papers that come out, they have the associated code, but like even then you can still run that research paper through an LLM, and it's like, hey, I may not have the PhD level understanding of this. Can you bring this down to the bachelor's level degree, the master's level degree, or something like that? And I think that's a really powerful use of it because, I mean, it's a shame to say, like, not everybody has the same level of like reading level and stuff like that. But that's not to mean that everybody shouldn't have access to the same information. So we should now be able to like present information in different ways that like people can understand it and be easily digestible. And I think that's a very, very powerful use of like the AI tools.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's really the focus of the podcast is how do we make information digestible for all populations. And some of the great work that you've done with like some STEM programs. I saw what you did in St. Kitts. So like things like that is dope, man. And I
love that.
I hope we're gonna do more like that, man.
Hey man, I would love to, man. Like that was a really cool opportunity. I got to go again, shout out to Clelia Davis for putting together in her native St. Kitts. The Einstein program, got to teach students how to use AI to build like simple video games. So allow them to take an idea out of their head. And again, we only had 4 days. So it's like, I've done previous ones like at the University of Virgin Islands and St. Thomas and St. Croix. We had a little bit more time where I can actually teach them like Python. In this case, we only had like 4 days. So it's like, all right, we're going to use the AI tools. And like, they were able to build like working video games and an associated website in like 4 days. So it's one of those things like showing them how to, use those prompts, how to, iterate, how to like, it's one of those things. Because again, sometimes the prompts are only as good as like what you can verbalize or so like even showing them how to like, hey, this is how you clearly state your idea, because this thing is only going to understand like its understanding is pretty limited, right? This is another way of like how to communicate essentially. So 100. I think that's a new skill that's going to be continue to be very, very important, is like writing your information or your prompts and stuff clearly. So it's just another form of communication, another form of writing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think that probably is going to be the most important, I think, skill moving forward with folks who are, I think, in the next wave of tech, like it's really learning how to utilize AI efficiently. And I think the biggest part is like, how do you communicate? And not just to the system, but also with individuals, because the information that you're getting from, like, if you're a product owner and you ask me to deliver whatever it is, I need to understand clearly what is that you need, and then be able to communicate that to the agent. Because it's almost like that whole thing where if you pass information around in a circle, by the time it gets to, it's like it's completely different.
Oh, it's completely different message by the time.
So I think our ability to be able to teach people how to communicate and translate information well, I think that's going to be long term. I think that's going to be the most powerful effect that we can get long term for those who are looking to get into tech. So
I agree.
Love what you're doing, man. Let's close out on this, man. If folks wanted to get in touch with you in terms of like what you're doing now, and then also what you want to do in the future, what's the best way, bro?
One of the best ways to get in touch with me, social media. So both on X, and I still call it Twitter sometimes, but like and Instagram. So it's just at Emjay Hill. So spelled EMJAY_Hill. And then also on LinkedIn. So I know I have a very common name that'll probably be hard to find on LinkedIn, but username on LinkedIn, if you do like WHill3, should be able to find me there. So don't really have much to promote or anything like that. I mean, I do talks as they come up. Like I said, I'll be leaving in the next couple of days, go to Utah and do a talk there. I think that's the last scheduled one I have for like this year, but I mean, stuff just pops up. So but I mean, always happy to talk, tech and stuff like that. But yeah, those are the places like people can find me.
Nice, man. And then the last question I was going to ask you, next 3 to 5 years, what does that look like for you, bro?
Ooh, that's a good one, man. I know this is like the question that you get like in high school and college and stuff like that. Man, I don't know, because again, things are constantly changing. Like I still see myself being in the tech field. Like I said, I still love it, still enjoy it. Man, I have friends and stuff that are running startups now. Like every time I think about wanting to try to create my own business, then I just talk to my friend like, oh man, that's how tough. So
Yeah.
and even I just got it for the employee side of a small startup. Like it takes a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But I do have ideas that I kick around and stuff like that. So I see myself just continue to progress in my career. You know, continue to do talks, try to give back, educate,
Nice.
and such. Yeah, that's probably the best as I have for right now.
Okay, dope, man. MJ, man, this has been dope, bro. Definitely wishing you the best of success as you continue growing. I know you'll do well, man.
Yeah.
You've been progressing throughout your career, so I know that the next, whatever set of things you want to accomplish will definitely be done. So
man, thanks. I can't thank you enough. Again, I think you're building an amazing platform. Like I've seen like some of the previous guest people that I really respect and admire. So like really respect and admire you for like building this, continue to platform people.
Thank you, bro.
I think this is just amazing what you build and continue to build, man. And I'm happy to be a part of it and hope I can, contribute in the future as well.
Thank you, man. Yeah. We'll have Will's information wherever you're watching this. So on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I'm forgetting all our other platforms, Spotify, Podcast. We'll have his information wherever you're watching this. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to hit us up at africansintechnology@gmail.com. Again, it's africansintechnology@gmail.com. My name is Sar Levy. It's Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. All right, fam.